you guys? Welcome back to Lily Reads. We are back for another vlog. We are back for an end of the month vlog. I feel like I am always doing a end of the month vlog. The months are just going and going. This year is going to be over before we know it. But we are going to be doing a vlog all about book of the month. I love book of the month. I don't even know what else to say about it. Book of the month, when I go in on the first of the month, every single month, and I pick the book that I am going to get delivered to my home, it gives me dopamine in a way it really shouldn't. Like, capitalism wins again every time I go click on the book, because here is the thing. I am not someone who actively searches for new books, and maybe this is a problem with me. I'm kind of somebody who goes off of book recommendations these days, or lists, so the best books on the New York Times or the New Yorker or the this, and I'm not really going to look for books. So book of the month is the only time where I see new releases that I haven't heard of. And so I like to go in and pick books I've never heard of, because for some reason book of the month rarely has a book that I was actually anticipating. I feel like a few years ago book of the month used to get more anticipated books, but that doesn't really happen now. I feel like more either debut authors are in there. We get a lot of thrillers. I do think if you're a big thriller fan, you get them from there, but I try not to buy thrillers new because I can get them secondhand most of the time. But anyways, I say all that to say this. I have collected a lot of book of the month books. I've collected, I definitely haven't read a single book of the month book I've gotten this year yet. I do not think. But I've collected a lot of book of the month books, and then I have some from the end of last year. And so I need to clear off the shelf, because the thing is, what's the point of getting the book of the month book if I'm going to wait a year, 2 years to read them? Then I can just cancel my subscription and just go buy the book on discount. And so I need to clear off that part of my newly purchased shelf, because yes, I do have a bookshelf in my home that is just on new purchases, and the book of the month books are just starting to become too much. So I am going to read 4 books in this video. Yes, I am. These are the 4 books from book of the month that I have not gotten to. A couple from last year, a couple from this year, and I also have 2 book of the month boxes I need to open with you guys. So even though reading these 4 books, I will clear off my TBR of book of the month books, I have 2. So I have the May and April books that I picked out. I have those still in the boxes to open with you guys. So let's get started on the books that we are going to be reading. But I think the oldest book that I have from book of the month is The Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austin. This book did show up in a few people's end of the year list last year. And so I got this in book of the month. When I picked it, I had no clue what it was. I didn't hear anyone talking about it. But then after I picked it, a few people read it, and I'm really interested in reading this book to see what comes of it. This is going to be the first book we read in this video because I'm that curious. Bookmarks already in here. So yeah, The Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austin. I am excited to get to this and see what it is about. The next book that we have is Again and Again by Jonathan Evanson. I don't know why I picked this book. I am so curious about what this book is about, because something about the synopsis had to draw me to it, because that is another thing. I usually don't really read the synopsis of books because of the way that I get book recommendations. If I'm reading a list, I already trust the list, so I just pick what book, looks kind of interesting. If I'm getting recommendations, I already trust someone's recommendation, so I'm just getting recommendations. You can see my TV back there. Ignore that. But when I'm doing book of the month books, I don't know any of these books, so I'm always looking at the synopsis, and so I don't remember what the synopsis of this is, but it has to be something that made me choose it, because I am notorious for skipping a month if I don't like the book, and I'll just double up the following month. So Again and Again, don't know what this is about, but we will be reading it in this video. I really don't want to DNF any books in this video. I don't. The next book we have is Shark Heart, A Love Story by Emily Habeck. I picked up this book because it was nominated for the Book of the Month, Book of the Year, and if you are a long-time member of Book of the Month, you get to pick one of the nominees and get a free book, and this is the one that I chose. Anything that's about a marriage, I'm gonna be there. This has magical realism elements, I'm gonna be there. This seems up my alley. If I had to take a wild guess, I'm gonna say this is the book I'm going to like the most. So yeah, Shark Heart, A Love Story. Let's see how that goes. And the last book, this of all the books is the book I got the most recently. Anita de Monte Laughs Last by Zadie Gonzalez. I'm going to look up how to say this author's name, and when we get to this book, I will pronounce their name correctly. Yeah, excited about this one as well. And these are the 4 books that we are going to be reading in this video. I am excited. We are going to start with the interesting facts about space, and we have a good variety. This is going to be a fun week of reading. Okay, I will talk to you guys later when we are in these books. Okay, peace. Hello, you guys. We have our first reading update. How exciting. I am just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, about to have my croissant, but I want to come and talk about the interesting facts about space because I was about to start reading it again actually this morning. So I have made it to page 100 in this book. I am reading physically with this one. Okay, so in this book, we are following Anita. Anita has 2 obsessions. One of them is she's obsessed with space, and another one is she is obsessed with true crime podcasts. And Anita is basically like living life. She has her own apartment. She has her own job. She makes her own money. She goes on dates with people, but she's never had a consistent relationship. She is a lesbian and she finds herself constantly, bizarrely stuck in the middle of people's like marriages. Like she keeps having sex with other people's wives, and that's just something that keeps happening. But the main thing about Anita that kind of sets her apart from other people besides those things that Anita constantly like reimagines her life. She doesn't know what's real and what's fake in her life. She thinks that she keeps seeing someone like staring at her in her apartment, looking at her through her window, but she doesn't know if she's actually seeing him because throughout all of her life, she has imagined things. She has imagined things with her deadbeat dad. She has imagined things with her half siblings who she never actually met before. She constantly comes up with scenarios and she confuses whether or not they actually happen or if she has imagined them. So in this story, we are just following Anita as she thinks people are following her, as she's having a weird relationship with a bunch of women, and yeah, she's just going through life. Oh, and she's deaf in one ear. She's deaf in one ear. That matters because of the way like people interact with her and how she interacts with the world. And that's just a need. And then in between, she talks to her mom about space. Her job actually has something to do with space, but like she's not like an astronaut or nothing. But like, yeah, that's what this is going on. If it's weird the way I explain this book, it's because this book is just weird. A need, you kind of just get dropped into the story and you just get facts about a need and the stuff that a need does. Nothing necessarily seems to be flowing all together. None of these things about her seem to all connect, but like loosely they do. Like, for example, she's obsessed with true crime podcasts and she thinks someone is following her around. Like, obviously those two things are connected. She's deaf in one ear and she has a hard time differentiating between reality and daydream. So obviously it's going to be hard for her to connect with people. She has social awkwardness. You know, she's really close to her mom. She has a deadbeat dad. She doesn't really hang out with her half siblings. Obviously deadbeat daddy. So like things do all connect, but like you're just dropped in the story. I'm 100 pages in. There's no clear plot except us just following a need. And also this book is told in just like short sentences. Like everything is just like a short sentence. So for example, a cashier is scanning my groceries. I have headphones in. My favorite true crime podcast is playing. Like nothing is a very deep thought. Nothing is a very long sentence. It's just everything is just this, and this. And then one thought leads to another loosely, but like it's just not this like flowing narrative with these flowing paragraphs. It's just not that. So the style is definitely, unique. Overall, it's compelling. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here. That's how I feel. I can't rate the book. I can't tell you like what the rating would be right now because I just simply do not know what's going on. I do not know what's going on. I know what's going on, but I don't know why I'm here. Like, I don't know what's going to be the thing that keeps us going. Like, she's afraid of her neighbor. There's just certain things that's going on. I do not know. But I am here. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying the style well enough. I do think, though, sometimes when you, like, get a character like Anita deals with social anxiety. She does the true crime podcast. The way Anita sees the world is how, like, a lot of people and, like, today's society, a lot of millennials see the world, especially like young millennials, the way they see the world. And sometimes the book can come off a little gimmicky. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, I know exactly who this book is trying to appeal to by the way that it's written. And sometimes it doesn't feel like a need is like a real person. She's just like a person put on page to appeal to people who have these exact types of thoughts in their head. And so like sometimes it does come off a little bit disingenuous. You want to know my favorite part about this? This character she has an old YouTube channel and she can't get into the YouTube channel to delete the YouTube channel. Now, number one, this is like not a real thing. If you have an old YouTube channel and you can't get into the YouTube channel, you actually probably could just contact Google and you could get it taken down. You could get, especially because you're a kid, you could probably get the YouTube taken down if you just gave it a day of effort. A day of effort, you get the YouTube channel taken down. But she can't get hers taken down. And she watches old videos of herself about like ranting and raving about stuff, and like that is like relatable, right? But the stuff she says about herself when she's watching these videos, I actually do find kind of interesting. Another thing that doesn't really sit with me is like the whole true crime thing. I don't think this book is glorifying true crime podcasts. I actually think it's doing something, I think it's doing the opposite. But I am just books about true crime podcasts, people who are obsessed with true crime podcasts, people who watch true crime podcasts, people who know all the serial killers, that does nothing for me because I am just so not attached to that world. Like, I don't know the ins and out of Ted Bundy. I don't know Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know those. Like, that's just something that just has never intrigued me. Like, of course, I've watched my fair share of Snapped, a little bit of Dateline, but like just like putting all of myself into like true crime, it's just never been my thing. So like the stuff about that doesn't really do anything for me. But that's just, starting reading thoughts on that. But anyways, I'm going to open some book of the month boxes, considering the fact this is a book of the month video. I know this is upside down because I just don't want to show the label. But yeah, I actually do know what these two books are in these boxes because these are my last two books. And one of these books is one of my most anticipated books of the year. So, like, I'm excited to open it. So let's see what's inside really quick. Like, y'all, for real, I be paying my money for book of the month. I do. Okay, so first things first, bookmark. Love to see it. One of my most anticipated books of the year is The Husbands. I cannot wait to read this book. When I found out about this book last year, maybe at the end of last year, don't remember, I was like, I need to read this book and I need to read it badly. So I cannot wait to read this book. This is about a woman who's like, she keeps getting new husbands coming out of her attic. Just sounds like right up my alley. So when this was a book of the month pick, of course I got my hands on it because I would have just purchased it on my own. Most of the times, book of the month books, I wouldn't purchase them on my own. Like I never probably would have gotten this book, The Interesting Facts About Space. I never would have gotten that book on my own. The fact that I just read the synopsis on Book of the Month, that is what made me get it. The next book I'm about to show you, I also would have never gotten this on my own, but since it was a Book of the Month pick, I was just like, I'll read it. And that's what I think is good for Book of the Month with me. Because I buy so many books, there's a lot of other books that I can't buy, which sounds crazy because you buy so many books. Like, what's the difference? But, like, there's just some books that, like, are interesting to me, but I just own too many books, or I know there's too many books I want to buy. I'll never buy this book unless I find it on discount one day, and that's rare. And so there's some books that Book of the Month allows me to get, and I'm just like, never would have purchased you if not. So that's kind of what Book of the Month is for me. I know for other people, Book of the Month is just so they can have a book to read a month. Not for me. Like, never would have picked up this book. And also, never would have picked up Real Americans by Rachel Khong. This is a literary fiction book. Don't even remember what it's about. But I know I read the synopsis on Book of the Month and wanted to read it. But I would have never picked this book up on my own, quite honestly. But now, I have it, and I'll read it by the end of the year, you know? It's cool. But anyways, those are my two picks. I think this is the May pick. This was the April pick. I think that's what I did there. But anyways, I will talk to you guys later, and peace. Hello, you guys. I'm here to give my final thoughts on Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austin. This book worked for me. Like, I don't have a lot of negative thoughts to say about this book. I will say that this is just inherently not a Kenya book. Like, I don't like books like this, and it's not because of the true crime stuff or even the space stuff. It's actually because I would put this book in the category of like bell jar core. So like a bunch of books about white women, you know, going through like a mental episode and like using things around them to cope, using strange things to cope, or not strange things, just using certain things to cope with the trauma that they've either experienced or going through. And it's kind of, you're just like following them through their day-to-day life, and you're just seeing them spiral, or you're seeing them trying to cope. It's bell jar core, you know? And that's what this would be categorized. But I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed a book like Nothing Special, or a book like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and many, many other books like this, where it's just taking a young person and they're just trying to deal with their trauma and the things that they've experienced, but like nothing really is going on. That's what this book is. Nothing really is going on in this book, but I think this book just did something more interesting than I usually get from these books. And I think the way that the story was plotted out, or the sequence, the way the narrative the narrative weaving, I think, left you more enticed. Like, I kept wanting to read to see what was going to happen. And I think our main character in this book had a good narrative voice. I will say at times, just like all Bell Jar Core books to me, it's hard to care. It's hard to care about the characters, but I like the writing in this, and I thought this book was bold, but obviously I'm never going to just love it. And I'm not really getting my thoughts across that well, but I thought this was an interesting book. I enjoyed my reading experience. I'm going to go ahead and give this book 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it. I liked it well enough. Not going to be my favorite book of the year. Didn't blow my mind, but I just think this book worked. And I also think this book had interesting things to say about trauma and how people cope with trauma. Anyways, next book we're going to read is Again and Again. So I will see you guys when it is time to read that. And yeah, peace. Hello, you guys. We are in my office. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to be in my office a lot because we have an issue, Houston. We have a problem. My laptop is in the shop. I had to take my laptop to Apple to go get a diagnostic. I'm going to assume they're not going to be able to fix it in store, so they're probably going to ship it off to get fixed. So I'm going to be without a laptop for a while, and I have to use my desktop. The only thing I usually use my desktop for is to play The Sims. That's why I'm kind of rarely in here unless I'm filming a video, playing The Sims, or I'm just in here fucking around. But that's pretty much it. I rarely just sit here and do work or just like vibe. Well, I'll sit here and do work from time to time, but like I rarely vibe in here. But I'm going to be vibing in here now because this is the only this is the only computer that I have. So I'm just sitting here. I'm about to film a video for my main channel, but I wanted to come and discuss the book Again and Again with you guys by Jonathan Evison because I am quite interested in this book and I did not expect to be. In the beginning clip, I was telling you I had no clue what this book was about. And when I got into this book, I still don't remember reading the synopsis, but I do understand if this was the synopsis, why I picked it up. So let me tell you what this book is about. We start in this like retirement community, not even retirement community, in a nursing home. We start in a nursing home and we meet a man by the name of Eugene. Eugene tells us that he is 106 years old, but this is not his first life. Like, he is at the end of his life in this life, but he knows he cannot die. He is just going to go on living another life after this life because he has lived many lives before this. And so he's telling us about how he was once in love before. He's not, that the person he loved went away, is not there with him. He doesn't have any friends. No one goes and visits him in this nursing home. He kind of just spends his days alone. And so hold up. So he says no one comes and visits him in the nursing home. Well, one day, this guy by the name of Angel, I believe, he comes to the retirement home to do some cleaning. He's a cleaner at the nursing retirement home, you know. He's a cleaner, and he gets to talking to Eugene, and Eugene is really, like, mean to him. Eugene is very short with him because Eugene kind of wants to get left alone. But Eugene kind of catches himself because he's realized he's turned into this like crotchety old man who's like yelling at the wind. So he's like, I'm sorry, Angel, for yelling at you. It's not that serious. And so one day Angel is like, can we just talk? Like, you're the cleanest guy here. There's nothing for me to do. There's nothing for me to clean up. I'm literally wiping the same thing over and over again that's never dirty. Like, can we just talk? And so Eugene, because he feels bad about snapping on the guy a few days earlier, he's like, sure. And so Eugene was like, I
kind of have a story, but I don't know if I want to tell you. Angel's like, just tell me something. And Eugene tells him, like, I've lived many lives. Like, this isn't my first life, won't be my last life. I've lived many lives. And Angel is all ears. Angel's just like, really? Like, you have? And so basically through Angel, we get Eugene's stories of the many lives he's lived. And he doesn't always live as a human being. He's been a cat before. He lives as animals, and he's been alive. Like, for what it seems like, when his life ends, he picks up in the next life in the same time. So it's not like time starts over. So he's lived as far back as like the 1800s, 1600s. Like, he's seen the rise of civilizations, the fall of civilization. He's just here right now. And so we're just hearing his story, but everything is kind of wrapped around this love story. Him like meeting the love of his life and like losing that. That's kind of what everything is around, because he's telling the story of like how he's been alone since he lost the love of his life. And so that's pretty much what this book is about. This guy telling us a story about his many lives and the woman he fell in love with. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. It's just so easy. It's not trying to do anything amazing. Like, it's not that long of a book. I got to page 80 just this morning. It doesn't read very long. It's not very heavy. You're just hearing about this guy's story. It's interesting. It's easy to follow. I'm enjoying myself way more than I thought I would be enjoying it. I have not heard anyone say anything about this book, but I think this book would be up a lot of people's alleys. I am enjoying. This might be my midnight library. This might be my midnight library. I don't know, but I am enjoying this book, and I just want to come tell you. Anyways, I'm about to sit in this chair, be on my desktop, and I'm actually thinking about buying a new desktop. We'll see how this one runs. It's kind of good that this happened, blessed in disguise, because I'll get to see how this runs to see if I truly need a new desktop or not. But I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Hello, you guys. We are on the move. I am headed to go get a facial because I really want to get dermaplaning done. I have a mustache right now that I really want to get shaved off my face. And so it's better for somebody else to do it because I don't feel like doing it myself. And I need to get my face exfoliated. I'm going to get a hydrofacial. It's just 30 minutes. I'm not trying to be here all day. I'm also going to go discount book shopping because that's what I'm in the mood to do. Oh my gosh, it is packed over here, which sucks, because getting out of here is going to be devilish. I feel like nobody goes to work anymore. Like, nobody has a job anymore. Like, I get it, I'm unemployed, but it feels like everybody's unemployed. It does not matter what day of the week it is. It does not matter what time I am out and about. Everybody and their mama gonna be out there with me, and I'm just like, so what the hell do y'all do? Everybody can't be posting videos. Everybody can't be posting videos. Like, you guys do not understand. It is about to take me all day to find parking, and my appointment is in 3 minutes. Oh my God. Like, I was not expecting it to be this bad out here. It gets to the point where, like, you have to schedule all your errands early as hell in the morning just so you don't have to see people. Like, just so the streets are not crowded. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna get a facial, a hydrofacial. Then after, I'm gonna do some bargain book shopping because it's over here. I say that, but then with the way everybody and their mama out here, it's just everybody is here. So I do not know. And then, yeah, I'm gonna be done. Hopefully I'll be able to finish again and again and give you guys my final thoughts on that. Okay, parking is a little better over here, so I should be fine. You ever like look for parking and then you start to get greedy? Like, you go to find parking and then like you get a space, and then all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh, I can get a better space, and then you drive up a little bit more, and before you know it, the only thing looking at you is handicap spots. It's like you should have got the space before. Anyways, I am here. My appointment's in 1 minute, but I just wanted to tell you guys we are out and about today for the first time, like, in a while, because it's my maintenance day. Today is my maintenance day, and I have to get stuff done. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later after my facial and we go bargain book shopping. Am I gonna walk to the bookstore It's too far. Too much is going on. Too much is going on. But I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am back from my facial. You can see where they did like some extractions because like I have like things protruding. But overall, it was a good facial. It's hot as hell. But I'm feeling it. I feel good. Mustache gone. Mustache completely gone. Dermaplaning done. You guys, I am by Claire's, and why do I want to go get another earring piercing, but I can't because I don't think I have any more lobe room left. Like, I feel like if I go higher, I'm getting into cartilage territory, and my body does not react well to cartilage piercings. I don't know why this piercing held up so well. I've never had any issues, but I've had both of my cartilage pierced, and like they just never do well. They never do well. So like I'm not even gonna try it, but I do want another one, but I don't think it'll do well. Hello, you guys. I am back. I purchased a few books. I'm not crazy about any of them. I don't feel like any of them I got this amazing steal on, but I purchased 3 books. I'm at a red light so I can show you them. The first book, the book I'm probably most excited I got my hands on, was A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I have never read The Girl on the Train. Really don't need to. Probably can go get it from the library. But I read the synopsis of this when I was shopping, and it was really interesting. And I've heard people read this book and enjoy it. So I was just like, why not get my hands on it? The next book that I bought was 100% just on the synopsis, and it is The Guest Room. I think I have heard 1 or 2 people show this on their channel, but like I never made a mental note of it, and so I purchased it. It was $8. This is the one where I'm like, did I really get a steal? I don't know. 1 second. Okay, and the next book I'm going to show you really quickly before I have to get off this camera. The last book I bought was She is a Haunting. I don't know. This is 100% a cover buy. I've seen this cover for the past year and a half, however long this book has been out, and I never was gonna purchase it because the synopsis doesn't really entice me very much. I just think the cover is selling this book. And then it came out, and I've heard like lukewarm reviews on it, and then I think this book is young adult. Hello, you guys. I am here to give you guys a final reading wrap up. I have finished Again and Again by Jonathan Evison. I am going to go ahead and give this book 3.75 to 4 stars. Have you guys ever read a book and like you enjoyed it perfectly fine, but like like it really shouldn't get like a full 4 or 5, but like you would recommend the book to like everyone? That's what this book is. I actually don't have that many negative things to say about it. I don't have bad opinions about this book. I don't regret reading this book. This is a book that I will return to in the future. I actually really enjoyed this book. I just think, number one, this is one of those books I was telling you guys about, like Midnight Library, where like there's a clear, obvious message, and those types of books never just do it for me, you know? But this, I think, did it for me more than Midnight Library. But I do think, just like Midnight Library, the book stops having like a plot. Like, there stops being anything for you to actually follow because all the steps become like predictable. You just start knowing what the book is trying to do. So you kind of like, you already know the message. The plot is, becoming redundant. And so it's just like, and the reason why I won't give this the full 4, I believe, is because this book does have plot lines. And I just don't feel like all of them were wrapped up all that well for me. I feel like we got this elaborate story, but this book didn't have time to like tell the elaborate story. Like, this book could have been 200 pages longer and we could have gotten more detail. But books like this usually don't do that because they're trying to give you, that moment where it's just like, and this is just the story, And so I'm explaining that poorly, but what I'm saying is I think this book is good. I think this book is well done. I think a lot of people can get a lot out of this book. I'm surprised this book hasn't been talked about more, but I do think this book could be more. It could be more interesting. It could be more well done. But for what it was, I enjoyed it. This was a surprising win for me. I'm counting it as a win. I'm going to probably log it as a 4-star, but it's definitely 3.75. So that was a victory for me. You guys are sitting on the book that we're going to read next, or one of the 2 books that we're going to read next. Should I drop you guys? Should I be professional? So we're either going to read Anita de Monte Laughs Last next, or we are going to read Shark Heart, A Love Story next. Haven't decided yet. It'll just be what I'm in the mood for tomorrow morning. But yeah, I'll check in with you guys when that happens. And yeah, I just want to come before I took a shower and gave you guys my final wrap up. Okay, peace. Hello, you guys. How are you guys today? Today has been kind of a sleepy day for me. I recorded a podcast for my Patreon that I need to go ahead and put up. But for you guys, I need to come and discuss Shark Heart, A Love Story by Emily Habeck. I have been reading this book for the past 2 days. I have officially made it to the halfway point, and I believe this book is broken up into 2 parts. I have finished part 1, and so now I'm about to go into part 2. How do I describe this book? Explain this book and what this book is about without saying too much? I don't even know if you can say too much. So basically in this book, we are following 2 characters named Lewis and Ren. Lewis and Ren are married to one another. They've been married for a little while. And we find out that her husband is turning into a shark. Her husband is turning into a shark. And it's not reversible. There's nothing that he can do. He is eventually going to have to live out the rest of his days as a shark, but it takes time for him to turn into a shark. So until then, Ren has to basically take care of him and slowly help him mold into that shark, feeding him ridiculous amounts of food, trying to help him with his anger, filling up the bathtub so he can sleep in it, and doing all types of stuff like that. And so through that story, we're getting kind of the backstory on Ren and Lewis, on how they met each other, what's going on in their life. Ren does something in mathematics, her job is. Lewis is a high school drama teacher. Lewis wanted to go off to New York City and become a huge actor. Didn't work out for him. He met Ren when he was on a date with somebody else. They both were on dates with someone else, and then they got to talking to each other and they got together. Ren and Lewis are yin and yang. They're opposites, but they work. And that's pretty much what this book is about. Them coping with the fact that he's turning into a shark. Now in the second part, we're getting to know Ren's parents. So I think that's what the other book is about. But also in this world, how do I explain this? In this world, turning into an animal seems like it's not taboo. This is something that happens to people. When they tell people that her husband, Lewis, is turning into a shark, no one's all that shocked. This is just something that happens in this world. Okay, how do I feel about this book? This book is very easy to read. It's very easy to read. It's really stylized. Sometimes the book is written as like a regular book, but then other times you get like scene one. It's written like a script, and you kind of go back and forth in between that. You get text messages. It's a fun little time in the style that it's written in. The best way to explain my reading experience with this book is that this book is almost like a social experiment and like staying in a story, because I will be honest, the first 40 pages, I wasn't really feeling it. Like, I was reading it and I'm just like, I get it, but I don't get it. But the more I read, I think once I got to like the 100 page mark, I was just like, I kind of care. Like, in a weird way, I care. Like, the weirder it got, the more I was kind of on board with it, because it started so weird, but everybody in the book was on board with the weirdness. I started to get on board with the weirdness, and I started to be like, yeah, this ain't that bad. So right now, I'm on this isn't that bad. There's moments in this book that I actually find quite good. Like, actually, like, really enjoyable. The relationship between Lewis and Ren, and how they're dealing with what Lewis is going through and the stuff that Ren is going through. And it's just this tale about accepting your partner as is, and like, what can love endure, and all of this type of stuff. It's working. It's weird. It's very weird. This book will not be for everyone. I haven't even finished the book. I don't know if this book is for me, but I do know that I'm not enjoying my time with this one. So I am going to finish this up, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace. Hi, you guys. Welcome back. I'm here to give final thoughts on Shark Heart, A Love Story. I finished this last night before bed, and I'm gonna give this book 4 stars, leaning 4.5. I actually think I need to do a video changing my rankings on some books that I've read, because I've given books 4 stars or 3.5 stars that I did not enjoy as much as I enjoyed this book. And that sounds crazy, because like, I can't pitch this book to you. I do not think a lot of people are going to enjoy this book, but this book just spoke to me in a really weird way. I come on here all the time and say I don't like books that try to teach you like an overall meaning that's universal and we all can agree with. At the root of this book is a book about grief and love overcoming grief. And basically, like I always say, moving on with your life when you lose someone. But this book takes that message and does something way more interesting than a book like The Midnight Library did to me, or even Again and Again, which we read in this video. I really enjoyed this book, and I also enjoyed the stylistic choices that this author made. This book constantly actually does this thing where it acknowledges that it's a book almost. Like, this book is written like a play, which kind of plays into like the Lewis character, him being a like stage coach and stuff. And sometimes this book breaks the like fourth wall and like acknowledges that it's like silly. Like, there's this part where we get to like know Lewis as a shark, and there's like a blur before, and it's just like, don't let like not being able to suspend your disbelief take away from the story. And I just thought it was so brilliant. And like, there's some stuff where like you'll get footnotes. Like, this book just all of a sudden starts giving you footnotes to get inside the thinking of other characters. And it's broken up into like scenes, act 1, act 2. I just thought the way this whole thing was done was so inventive and so like bold. And it 100% to me had an idea and it stuck with it. And that's what I really, really enjoyed. Like, it committed to what it was trying to be, and it didn't find itself silly. It just was like, this is the book, embrace the book, and you'll get something out of it. And I did. And I really, really did. And so I really enjoyed this book. I'm going to give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is one of those books where I really feel like you got to read the whole thing through and like keep your mind open, and you might enjoy it. I enjoyed this one. The next book that we are going to read is Anita de Monte Laughs Last. And yeah, when I first get some thoughts, I will give you some thoughts. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. We're doing good on this video. I'm enjoying reading these books. That's why I love Book of the Month. I would have never picked up these books on my own. I just wouldn't have. But I got some winners here. So let's get into this, and I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. We are on our last book. It is morning time. I'm drinking a coffee, but I do need to come talk to you guys about Anita de Monte Laughs Last. I started this book a couple of days ago. Really, yesterday, I started this book and I have made it to the halfway point, and I need to come tell you my thoughts. So first of all, I don't know what type of synopsis to give you guys for this book because I read the synopsis that's in the sleeve, and this synopsis goes on really, really long. We have not even gotten to the point in my reading where the synopsis has finished. So I'm on page 166 and the synopsis hasn't even been fully actualized yet. So I don't want to just like spoil half the book for you, even though reading the synopsis on the sleeve will spoil it. I just think maybe you should just go into it and read it. But let me tell you what it's about. So in this book, we have dual timelines. For some reason, this is like the year of the dual timeline for me. I feel like every other book I read, there's dual timelines, dual POVs, and different timeline. But that is this book. In this book, we are following a character named Anita, who the book is named after, and we're following a character named Raquel. Anita is in 1985. Anita is either the daughter of Cuban immigrants or she's a Cuban immigrant herself. Don't really remember. But she is a artist. She wants to become a big artist. She's getting a lot of buzz, and she meets this guy named Jack. What her man name is? Is his name Jack or James? His name is something like that. He's a white man. He's an artist himself. And basically, Anita is trying to tell us about her death. So Anita is off somewhere, whether it be heaven, hell, someplace in between, telling us about how she's going to die. And she's telling the story of her husband, her white husband, who is an artist, and their really toxic marriage and everything that has come with that. But then we are like transported into the early 2000s, I think, or late 90s. And we are following a character named Raquel. She is at Brown University. She is one of the only people of color at Brown University. I think she's Afro-Latina. Also not sure about that. And basically, she feels like she's an outsider. She's kind of been prepped her entire life to go to an Ivy League school. Eventually she does, but these people are not nice to her. People feel like she's a diversity admitting, and basically no one is nice to her. But her story is that she ends up dating this white student who comes from a rich family. He's an art student, but he's a few years ahead of her. And she ends up dating him, and he's like the only white guy in their circle, and he's like the only white guy she's ever dated. And so the people around her, the black people, because she hangs around with the black people, they have this radio show, all this stuff. They're making fun of her, but not in a bad way, just in like you're dating a white guy way. And she starts to quickly feel inadequate because like he comes from money, and she can tell that he's kind of ashamed of her in some ways and ashamed of where she's come from. And that's kind of the two timelines that's going on. Both of them are kind of dealing with the same things. Both of these two women, people of color, have a white partner, and the white partner seems to belittle them. But something is going to happen to bring their timelines together. And that's what this story is about. I have an issue with Anita. So this whole book is surrounding Anita. Anita is our sympathetic protagonist, pretty much. The problem is I don't find Anita to be that great. Obviously you feel bad for Anita, right? Anita has a white husband. Once you figure out what this white husband does to her, you feel even more bad for her. But I don't think Anita is a great person on her own because I don't understand Anita's actions. So Anita meets this white man, and he sucks the minute that she meets him. And she marries him still. He sucks while they're dating. He sucks throughout their entire marriage, and she's still there. So to me, it feels like Anita married this man to get societal gains, to get institutional gains, and like it blew up in her face because of course it would. Like that's what it feels like. I feel bad for Anita because Anita shouldn't have to go through this stuff, and racism sucks. But like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to root for with Anita. Like, how am I supposed to understand Anita? And this is not just a this book thing. I don't know if I call a book like The Interesting Facts About Space bell jar core. What is the core for the person of color who chooses to partner with white people and constantly deals with institutional racism? So the books about people of color having white partners dealing with institutionalized racism that they kind of signed up for. Like, what's the core of that? Like, there are so many books like that now, like so many. Like, I think it's like the thing to write. Like, if you want to write a literary fiction book about a person of color in some type of intellectual field, that is the way that you do it. You talk about them being in the intellectual field, being really smart, them dealing with institutionalized racism. They're gonna have a white partner. This white partner is gonna be racist and doesn't even realize they're racist. Like, that is the thing. That is the book that people write these days. And I just find all of them to be uninteresting in the exact same way, because the main character never interrogates their own either anti-blackness, their own self-hate. That seems to never be interrogated in any of these books. Another book that I just read that kind of does it, Olga Dies Dreaming, I read this month, and it also is dealing with almost the exact same thing. But I do think Olga Dies Dreaming does do more self-reflection than what seems to be happening in this book. But Anita's not good. Like, I never empathize with these characters, because I think a lot of there's so much agency seems to be stripped away from them in order to make them victims. Like, we sit here and just be like, they're just trying to make their way in society. But like, it doesn't talk about how a lot of people of color intentionally seek out whiteness, white spaces, and white people in order to gain mobility, in order to feel good about themselves. And is it really us who don't do those things? Should we really care when that all comes crumbling down on them? I don't know. But I do find all of those stories equally annoying. I don't find them as fascinating as the literary world wants us to find them. Yeah, it's a way for the winners to be losers. So like Anita, she was successful, had a successful husband, had a rich husband, had all this stuff. She was a winner in life, right? But somehow these books frame these people as the losers as well. Like, you got everything you wanted. People who are not able to be palatable like you, or not beautiful as you, or as talented as you, are the real losers. They're the ones who have to deal with, poverty and everything else, and racism. But you're the winners in this, and still somehow you're able to frame yourself as a loser. It just feels like wanting to be the victor and victim at the exact same time, and not taking responsibility for your actions. And that's not me saying they deserve institutional racism, right? What I'm saying is it infantilizes the subject matter. It makes them seem like they have no agency in anything that they do. Like, everything else, everybody is working against them, and they're not active participants in their life. And that's just simply not how any of this stuff works. And I think a more interesting way to discuss the story of people who do this is talking about how they willfully chose a lot of the stuff that they did. But even back to this book, we get to meet Anita, and she's telling us how she ends up with this man, and she's just like, yeah, it was good. Yeah, he was cheating on me. I went back with him. And like, she's glossing over the many decisions that she made that don't make no sense. And so I'm like, I don't like Anita. So I say that to say this. Usually when we have the dual POV timelines, I like the older timeline the most. But actually, I think Raquel is the more interesting subject. Raquel, the woman at Brown with the white boyfriend, that is the more interesting timeline. That's the timeline I enjoy being in the most. And actually, when we go back in time to Anita's storyline, we're sometimes in the husband's head too. I find him more interesting than Anita. I say all that to say this book is surrounding Anita, but I find Anita to be the least interesting. Anyways, I'm going to finish it, give you my final thoughts, and I'll wrap up the video in the next clip, okay? You guys, I am here to wrap up this video. I have finished Anita de Monte Laughs last, and I'm going to go ahead and give this book 2.75 stars out of 5 stars. This was not for me. I just didn't understand the character of Anita. I found the character of Anita to be quite boring and kind of quite flat. Like, I understand her cause and like why I should like her, but I just don't see what this book adds to the canon of like POC erasure and like people being, you know, forgotten in history and being taken advantage of and exploited by white people. Like, I get the point. I just don't see what this book, what Anita's story adds to, you know, what we already know. I feel like you don't take anything away from Anita's story. And so then you get like what this book is really about, which is like this haunting story, almost this ghost story, which I also don't think is that well done. I found it cheesy, like I said, because I didn't enjoy Anita as a character. I will say the Raquel storyline at Brown in the late 90s is rather interesting. I actually think that book alone could be a solid book, but it only takes up half of the book, and the book in all of this is coming together to tell the story of Anita and her husband. So altogether, this one did not work for me, and I didn't expect that. I thought I was going to like that more. The first book we read in this video was The Interesting Facts About Space, and this one did work for me, which is shocking because I usually don't like books that I describe as bell jar core, you know, like this like female, not female rage, but yes, like female going through stuff, life in shambles, trying to cope, doing strange things. But this one worked. I do think 4 stars is too generous for this book. I do think this is more of a 3.75 than 4 stars, but I did enjoy this book. And yeah, I think you should read it. I think a lot of people would like it more than I did. The next book we have is Again and Again. This was the most, I think, shocking book of this video because I didn't think I was going to like it at all. I didn't think I was going to like it at all, but I did. And I do think this book could have probably reached a wider audience if it was a longer book, maybe had a little bit more depth, but this one worked. This is a 3.5, and I think this is the perfect example of giving a book a 3.5, but not in a bad way. Like, I enjoyed this book. The 3.5 is not negative. And then the last book, and my favorite book in this video, which I thought it would be, is Shark Heart, A Love Story. The more I think about this book, the more I enjoyed this book. I just thought this book was just executed really well. And I thought it was like adventurous, you know? It was innovative. This author wanted to tell a story in a way that we really don't get stories told. And here is the thing. You gotta understand, when it comes to magical realism, when it comes to marriage stories, those are like my 2 things. Like, I would say generational stories, magical realism, and marriage stories are like my top 3 things that if a book is like has those things, I'm probably going to like it. This book kind of has all 3 of those things going on. So like, of course I loved it. I'm going to give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. But that was our book of the month haul. And now I've read most of my book of the month books, and like I can like move on with my life. But yeah, I would say pick these up if you found them interesting. None of these books were absolute duds. I don't understand why they got made. But yes, I will see you guys in the next one.